Hey, so I've always had a lot of musical ideas, but I still couldn't get things over the finish line for a really long time. Whether it was due to small mistakes causing me to doubt myself, or my love of experimenting with new approaches to music. But in that time, I've discovered some unexpected mistakes that would take my ideas I knew had potential, and consistently turn them into unfinished, minute-long dead ends. So getting started right away, we'll be using my song Forbidden Love. It's been on Spotify for a little while now, and it was kind of a rush job, but I think that's part of what makes it a decent example.
Roses on the sheets, and speaking of the dream you told me.
Mistake number one is not using a production reference. Now, I know the temptation all too well to create something entirely unique and unreferenceable. Sounding like someone else has never been and never will be one of my goals. But copying a production style doesn't make you sound like the original artist, because you have different tools, a different track, and you're a different person. It's just a sense of direction. My reference for this track is pretty different from my track. It was Clairo's Juno.
It's when you talk close enough that I feel it on my skin.
I really like the production of this song. It's warm, balanced, and I've gone for a similar sound myself so many times, and I think it works really well with my style. So you might be asking, how did I actually use this reference in a productive way that isn't just copying? First of all, the drums. I used a free AI tool called Ultimate Vocal Remover to separate the track into stems so I could troubleshoot more easily. I took a few things from this. It's clear that the highs are cut. I think it's at about 6.3K, and that gives it part of the lo-fi feel. It also has a lot of saturation, and the drums are really well recorded. You know, there's no hi-hat, it's vibey. Now here's my drum sound, which you'll notice is similar, but not exactly the same. So I've got the high cut in there, I've got the saturation, but you know, it's a different drum part. Also, the piano lines have this really cool vintage record sound to them. So I did a few things to make my piano sound like that. Namely, Somatics Origin, which is a free plugin. I'll include a link below. Now, the vocals in the original sound really, really good, but I'm a man. I sing in a completely different register. What works for her voice is not going to work for my voice. So I kind of let the reference go on that part. Mistake number two is letting the tempo choose you instead of the other way around. This is important for three main reasons. The first reason is the genre you're writing in may have certain requirements. But more importantly, when you're songwriting without a tempo in mind, you might come up with a couple nice parts that fit together, they're in the same key, but one of them works at like 108 BPM and the other works at 94. That turns into a huge waste of time, especially if you realize it after the fact, have to go back and rewrite parts. And who knows how many parts you wrote off of that other part that was kind of just in the wrong tempo. The third reason is that whatever production style you're going for is also tempo dependent. So, for example, the kick in my track is a full whump. A kick like that is going to be overbearing at a faster tempo. Mistake number three is skipping the demo. It might seem like making a demo recording is a waste of time, especially if you're producing your own track anyway. Like, why not just make the track? Well, the thing is, if you make a good demo, you can still use elements of it in your final track. Like, I make multi-track demos. A quick piano or a guitar part and a vocal. Just 2 tracks. It doesn't constrain you, but it does force you to hear exactly how the bones of the song fit together and flow. So it saves you from getting too far down the line, maybe hearing your song a certain way, only to realize you have to make major changes to get to the level of quality you know you're capable of. So make a demo. Do the chords fit perfectly with the melody? Do the sections all transition smoothly? This is also where you convince yourself that this is a track worth finishing, because if the bones are there, all you have to do is the production. And if you didn't make mistake number 1, you can probably already see the finish line. Mistake number 4 is mixing practice time with production time. I have been guilty of this so much in the past because it's so subtle. You might be going for a certain drum sound, try to nail it, and just completely miss the mark, right? I think we've all done that. What I'm talking about is how you handle that situation in that moment. Because there's always a sicker tone, there's a faster workflow, and a plugin that makes it so easy that you never have to worry about it again. But it doesn't matter because all of this stuff is addictive, even knowledge, and it's distracting. And this was a difficult lesson for me to learn, but I know that I'm better off not learning new tricks while I'm producing. Like, save it for some other time. Even if you can't nail the exact thing you're going for, you probably know how to make something work. Just do that and move on. Because your production time isn't the time to learn new things. It's time to execute what you do know. Mistake number 5 is avoiding a repeatable process. Maybe avoiding is too strong of a word, but having a process to lean on in times of doubt, uncertainty, or frustration is really important. I know that I experience every one of those emotions every time I make a track. We second guess ourselves, even though we know we're capable of creating something incredible, and end up stuck partway through the process without a clear sense of direction. What I needed was the right process that works for how I think and create, and to repeat that process until it became second nature. And I'll just let you know right now, what works for a pop producer who lives for the club and festivals and is super inspired by those things is completely different than what works for an introvert like me who prefers my quiet studio space to write my oddball tracks. Not that those things aren't fun, it's just not what keeps me going or inspires me. My process is publicly available. You can download a PDF of it for free. If you're interested, just follow the link below. It's set up like a schedule where I work on the track for about an hour a day because that's how I like to work, that's what motivates me, and if you think that would be helpful to you, then great. Otherwise, I want to encourage you to make your own because it feels like it's getting your work done before your leisure time, and it kind of reframes music production into a responsibility to yourself and your own happiness. So those are the 5 music production mistakes that I think cost the most time. No production reference. Awesome for experimenting, painful for efficiency. Tempo issues. So frustrating, especially when you have to throw out good ideas because of it. No demo. That's just bad for motivation. Mixing practice and performance time. You're already good enough. And the 5th is avoiding a repeatable process. Because the path of least resistance is there. You just have to figure out what it looks like for you. If you have any other mistakes that you think should have been included in this list, please leave a comment and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. See ya.